Good morning, history students. I am going to go over the week 8 assignment. So it's posted under week 8. That's this week. And just to double check these dates here, discussions due October 22nd, responses the 25th. So those dates are correct. This is going to be a visual story or a narrative sequence that you're going to edit. So we're going to be thinking about the ways that we edit images together to tell a story. So we have discussed a lot with the war photography, the way a particular country would edit the photos that were being sent back by their photography team before they would allow those images to be published. And usually the goal was to garner sympathy for their side, not necessarily to end the war, but actually sometimes to gain more financial support for it. So we've talked about the limitations of a single image and the fact that it's made in a fraction of a second. How much can one image really tell us about what's going on? So we're going to be thinking about what we can do to expand on a story, still using photography, but in a sequence of images. This is based on the link I'm going to click here, which is in the assignment. Actually, I don't like that it just opened in a new, I wanted that to open in a new window. I thought that was a default. Make sure that's going to open in a new window, okay? Okay, so we're looking at this New York Times. This is based on a lesson that was created by the New York Times, and it's called Photos of the Past. So I would like you to look through the way they articulate this. They say in this lesson, students will look at history through archival photography from the New York Times. You're actually going to be using a larger range of resources than that, and I'll show you those in a minute. Then the students create their own photo-based article from the online archives. So here's a few examples. So what they did is they allowed people to go into the archives and find images that were made by New York Times photographers and edit them into a new story. Some of the things that I want you to think about as you're looking at photos, and you can use this one here as an example. What is going on in the picture? When and where do you think this was taken? What do elements in the photo tell you about the time period? Think about architecture, but also clothing. And here she's dressed as Princess Leia. It gives you a sense of what was popular at that time. We've got Spider-Man, we've got Batman. You can tell, from their clothes, and because it's Star Wars, I'm going to guess this was made in the 80s, right? So there's little things that can help you discern the time period. Who is in the photo? Just name it. Who is in the photo? Kids playing on a playground. What else do you see in the photo, right? Just notice what you see. I see street signs. I see large apartment buildings. So what does that tell me about where this was taken? It was probably taken in a big city, right? You've got a lot of kids. They're inside this playground that has a brick wall and a large fence. So they're in a very enclosed and secured space. We know it was for the New York Times, so we can guess that this was probably taken in New York City somewhere. What do you think the photographer was looking to capture? So that's the most subjective question there. What do you think the photographer was looking to capture? I can't answer that for you, but these are things I want you to think about when you're looking at these images. In this example, you have quite a different scene. And if you ask yourself those same series of questions, you can go through this exercise yourself and really try to unpack what is in a single image. And then you're going to start thinking about, how can I pick a story and sequence these together? So they give some examples of that. And because it's close to Halloween, I love doing my Halloween themed stuff. So I'm going to choose the story as an example here. There's no Halloween like a New York City Halloween. So that's the title of the story. So right away, we know what to expect, right? There's no Halloween like a New York City Halloween. Pretty sure we're going to see pictures of Halloween in New York City. So let's see how they emphasize the story, though there's no Halloween like a New York City Halloween. So now I've got the impression I'm about to see the best Halloween celebration in the United States. Here we go. The way they have the images paired side by side, you can do that if you'd like. And now you see, here's the captions, and you are going to include captions. So let's read them. A tiny Gene Simmons making a play for most rock and roll costume at PS 217 on Roosevelt Island. PS stands for public school. So they are giving some context, and I would like you to be thinking about how you're going to give context as well. So look, that picture comes from Halloween, and now we have an explanation of why these kids are in costumes. That's why we have Batman. That's why we have Princess Leia. That's why we have two Spider-Mans, actually. So here you see that the people gathered around for the photo, and I have had students ask me about this. Is this still journalism when everyone clearly knew they were being photographed and gathered together and posed for this image? Is this a portrait? Is this staged? This is totally acceptable in photojournalism to gather a group like this when they're aware they're being photographed as a part of your story. It clearly fits within documenting a story showing how epic Halloween is in New York City. So that is not considered staged or manipulating the circumstances. I love it. So 4-month-old Lena Robertson and her dad picking out her first pumpkin in North Brunswick, New Jersey. So they are across the river. You can ask yourself, is that still New York City? Look at all these kids looking at the ice cream. Bertha Rivera, Hannah Young, and Dorothy Brooks are judging entrants in the annual's Arthur costume contest. So look at that. They were over the ice cream. So I thought these kids wanted ice cream, and maybe that's the prize. But without that caption, we would not really know. We see the pieces of paper in their hand, but you could easily think they're taking orders or something. So without that caption, we did not know this was a costume contest, and we did not know these women are the judges. But as soon as we get that information, look how easily it falls in place. Like, oh, of course, they're taking notes and they're writing down, you know, who has the best costume. Like you have 3 of these like pirates. So that's it for that story. So you can see in just a few images that were pieced together that the story can be told, that there is no Halloween like Halloween in New York City. So I want that to be something that you keep in mind as you do this project. So now I'm going to go into the details about your directions. I want you to read all of these in addition to watching this video. You're going to choose a subject, think about a theme, a topic, a person or a place from history that you'd like to know more about. For example, civil rights movement, Halloween, street musicians. It can be very broad like that. And if you're really not sure, you can just do a time period, like choose the 1970s, the 1960s, see what comes up. These are all of the archives you have access to. So you've got the Library of Congress, where I showed you the Dorothea Lange image from, the National Archives, the New York Public Library, the University of California, and the Harvard Digital Collections. These are massive photo collections that you can go through on. I've clicked on the Library of Congress. You can use a search bar to find things based on themes. They have the Civil War highlighted here. If you want to choose the Civil War, you can. They also have different collections here where you can see that they have selected specific themes already. So this is going to take you some time to just get oriented with this particular resource and try to enjoy the opportunity to look through. If you're interested in the fact that our state, North Carolina, is known as where the first airplane flights took place with the Wright brothers, you can search here in the Wright brothers negatives and learn more about the collection. And you could just make your story about this. So I think that that could be a potentially cool project. So I clicked on view all, and these are all of the search results from the Wright brothers negatives. And I'm going to guess that these are really well captioned. So when you click on an image, it's going to tell you as much as they possibly know about it. And this also happens to be a Halloween theme. So this could fit into a Halloween themed story. And this is just telling us the name of the people who are in the photo. And it gives us some information. It's a group photo. It's of Carrie Kaler, Belle Kaler, and Chloe Barnes. And, you know, that could be where you go ahead and research those names and see who these people are. And I've just clicked on the image and I've clicked on a JPEG of it and it's downloading. So you actually can download the JPEGs of these particular photos. It's taken a second here. So if that finishes, I'll show you, but you can go ahead and you can download those JPEGs and then you can include them in your presentation. So here's all of the other resources, the New York Public Library. I'm going to go ahead and fix that so it opens in a new link, but you'll have to spend a little bit of time on each of these, kind of poking around until you find specific photographs that you're looking for. I don't want you to use drawings or anything else. I definitely only want you to use photographs. Okay. If you really wish to, you can also create something based on resources from your local library if you want to go to the library, or you could even use family photos. I'm going to suggest against that. I really like you to spend time on these online collections, but I am going to leave that open if it's something that you really want to do. So find your story, choose 5 to 10 images, put that story together, and give us a title slide at the beginning with a catchy title to give us a sense. And I also want you to create captions, but instead of posting them under the pictures, I'd like you to just create a list of the captions in numerical order that correspond with the order of the photos and give us those detailed captions at the end. I'm hoping that when everyone looks through without seeing the titles, that they get a sense of what you were going for. So this is a previous student's work. She called it Dynamism of the Bluebird. And then here you can see these images of parades or potentially protests. And unfortunately, the images came out really pixelated, so it's hard to read some of their signs. But what these women are women who are fighting for the right to vote. So when Kaylee presented this, we're doing it a little bit different. She was able to give us the context of each of these people. And this woman in particular was very instrumental in fighting for women's right to vote. And the reason that she called it the dynamism of the bluebird is because this bluebird, this is actually a pendant that they wore or signs that they made and posted up everywhere that became a very visible sign of women and their slogan and their fight for the right to vote. So that's just one example. So it doesn't have to be a ton of images, but the difference here is that instead of just the definition for the words, you're actually going to have a list of captions to give us the information that we can't glean just from looking at the photos. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's more information on her theme. But if you have any questions, just please reach out. I've now backed too far out of the Open LMS to get back to it. But you're going to just be posting this in the discussion, and I would like you to post it as a link to Google Slides. If you really want to use Canva or something, I'm not going to stop you, but I do recommend just using Google Slides because then you can just easily go into the discussion board, go into week 8, and just post a link here, and just make sure that you know, you do it as a view only so people don't accidentally edit your work. If you have any issues, just let me know as those come up and feel free to email me.